Good morning, viewers. You're watching NewsX and I'm Kriti Mehta. Let's start this Friday morning with some breaking news now coming in. Airbus has sent its initial assessment of the August 4 Phuket-Delhi flight incident to Air India and has sought details of the aircraft's recent maintenance activities. According to the preliminary communication, Airbus has asked Air India to carry out multiple tests and inspections as part of its ongoing assessment. The initial findings, based on analysis of the digital flight data recorder, indicate a loss of hydraulic systems during the flight. Airbus has also noted that load exceedances were detected during the sudden altitude change and has directed that the required maintenance inspections be carried out. The aircraft's flight control system subsequently recovered, allowing normal control to be restored. Yash joins us with some additional details. Yash, there was indication already how the hydraulic system in the flight Airbus may have failed. Airbus has now confirmed this. Do tell us more details.
Yes, Kriti, let's take a look at Airbus's interim report itself. So we have accessed the interim report. It states, it is from the engineering department. It is dated 4th August 2026. Title is Airbus Answer to Message 001 Preliminary Assessment and Initial Recommendations. So there they state that we understand that AIC A320N encountered a sudden loss of altitude during flight 2379 from Phuket to Delhi on August 4, resulting in injuries on board. Please be informed that the DFDR data has been successfully decoded. We have conducted an initial assessment of the reported event to identify potential root causes and determine necessary further actions. As the PFR also indicates multiple ATA faults, our analysis focused on various aircraft systems and the sudden altitude loss itself. Our assessment from the each ATA and event perspective is presented below. So this is the first ATA event. This is ATA 27. The FCTL computers acquire the pressure information from three sources, two pressure switches and one pressure transmitter, and perform a comparison of those different sources to consolidate the HYD status, which is the hydraulic status. Based on the analysis of the DFDR plots, it is observed that just before 4:02, this is the first loss of the G hydraulic system declared by the FWS, which can be correlated to the loss of LHG elevator SC and LHG and RHG Aileron SC, as well as splitter 1 and 5. So here they add a note that as per system design, there is a system reconfiguration. Furthermore, they state that the pitch is now handled by ELAC1 with LHB and RHB elevators as the primary source. On the roll axis, the RH aileron is now handled by the ELAC2 and the LHB ELAC2 on the LH aileron. The ELAC1 keeps the priority with the LHBSC. This particularly, all of this consolidates to, all of this means that when it started, when the primary first the green hydraulic system failed, followed quickly by the blue and yellow systems. Because the hydraulics failed, the pilots temporarily lost the ability to use the elevators. Elevators are the flaps on the tail that make the nose go up and down, and the ailerons, the flaps on the wings that make the plane roll. So all of the hydraulic systems failed for roughly about 4 seconds. When the wing flaps lost hydraulic power, they floated freely and drifted into a position that caused the airplane's nose to lift up. The autopilot disconnected quickly and the first officer, according to Airbus, pushed down the controls forward for a full nose-down command. However, because the hydraulic power was temporarily gone, the physical wing and tail flaps didn't respond immediately. This sudden shift and drop likely caused the sharp 300-foot altitude loss and onboard injuries. Now remember, we know that this is not a 300-foot altitude loss. This was somewhere around 675 foot altitude loss. But just a few seconds later, the blue, yellow, and green hydraulic systems automatically came back to life in sequence. This restored full control to the pilot, so they could recover the aircraft. Now, what Airbus has recommended, they have checked the flight data recorder and determined that the issue was triggered by a sudden loss of hydraulic pressure. Airbus is not recommending any immediate changes to the plane's flight control design. However, maintenance crews must perform a series of rigorous operational tests on all the three hydraulic systems, which is the
Yes.
green, the blue, and the yellow.
All right,
And also
Yash.
check specific pressure switches,
Thanks
transducers,
for
and
bringing
firing
those
com-
updates to us. Let's also go to Atul, who is joining us on this. Atul, those are the details from the Airbus investigation of the aircraft. There was a loss of hydraulic systems. As Yash is also telling us, how is probe going on otherwise into the incident? How is the pilot being investigated, and does this really clear the pilot entirely of all the blame that was being put?
Well, this is the initial assessment report from the Airbus, which is of course the original manufacturer in this case, because the aircraft that was flying was an Airbus A320, and as per International Civil Aviation Organization's protocol, the original equipment manufacturer also needs to be consulted on this. Now, immediately after the incident, Air India flagged this to the Airbus, and about 15 to 16 hours later, which is in the early hours of 5th of August, we get this report from Airbus. Now, this particular report from Airbus essentially does three things. Number one, it does acknowledge that there was a series of technical failure, to be specific, hydraulic failures, because this Airbus A320 has three different hydraulic systems. Number two, it did acknowledge that for about 4 seconds, the aircraft was sort of stalled because of all the hydraulic failures, and then suddenly the nose of the aircraft went up, and that is why you see a climb up in the trajectory of the aircraft. And gradually, and number three, gradually when the all the hydraulic systems sort of regained their control, the first officer was able to gain control of the flight, and that is why you see in the attempt to bring back the flight to the same altitude level, you see that the nose of the flight is brought down, and that is why you see that sudden decline in about 300 feet. Is all 300 feet in the altitude. However, independent analysis have in fact pointed out that the drop in the altitude could be more, in fact, up to 676 feet. Now, coming to the investigation, obviously Airbus has asked for more, maintenance records as well as more rigorous maintenance from the Air India on these aspects for a final report on this. So this is the initial assessment report. Now, coming to the other parts of the investigation, obviously AIP has interrogated the captain of the aircraft as well as other crew members. In fact, it has also earlier summoned the Air India CEO Campbell Wilson on this particular matter. Now, what we're learning that the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is already examining the CPR details as well as the FDR details of the aircraft.
All
The
right.
aircraft has been put on the hangar, and now we're expecting a preliminary report within 2 weeks of the incident very soon.
Atul, yes, thank you very much for giving us those additional inputs. And with that, viewers, we're going to shift